One of the things we need to get to in transportation, and I think it's important, and it deals with a lot of issues, and we'll be bringing this up again later, the equity formula and some other things, is there are certain projects in the state of North Carolina that should be funded based on statewide need and competition, so that you don't have a situation where you have pots of money going into one part of the state that are isolated in that part of the state. And that's a long-standing problem, and we'll have some proposals on that as the session goes on.
Do you think you're going to be able to keep that from happening with the stimulus money? Do you think there's going to be enough transparency?
I don't think we know enough at this point about what kind of strings are attached to that stimulus money. I do think it's something that we need to look at. I think everybody's hope when we heard from the administration in Washington that we were looking at dollars coming to the states for infrastructure. I think everybody was saying, well, yeah, there are a lot of things that need to be done, and that's still the case. There are a lot of things that need to be done. I think, unfortunately, what we're seeing is at least some initial concerns about, well, is politics playing more of a role in these decisions than merit? And unfortunately, I think in North Carolina, we've got structures in place that may enable politics to play a larger role than merit, and those are just things that we need to deal with.
Since we're discussing the stimulus money, we've been hearing from a lot of Republican governors this week that they're not going to take the money. Could you do the right thing by saying that North Carolina is accepting the money?
I think the Democrats have put us into such a hole with the budgets that have been adopted over the years that she may feel that she's got very little alternative, particularly with the size of our deficit. I would say that there are problems that will come in the future as a result of accepting the money. You know, what do we do in year 3? I think even the Democrats are talking about that. And we may actually find as time goes on that we would have been better off being a little more selective on the dollars that come to us.
For people who don't understand about how that works.
Well, the problem is that, as I understand it, that we're going to receive money, let's take Medicaid for example, to cover a shortfall in Medicaid for this fiscal year, 08-09, and for next fiscal year, 09-10. But if we've covered that hole for those 2 years, what happens in 2010, 2011? And I think that's the real question. If we've relied on $1 billion of federal money to cover the first 2 years, if that $1 billion is not there in the third year, do the expenditures go away, or do we have to find the money somewhere else? And if we're looking at finding the money somewhere else, it's the state government getting into the pockets of the individual taxpayers, and North Carolina is the more likely place that money is going to come from.
I'm going to jump off topic.
It's the age-old problem of using non-recurring money for recurring expenses, when I think we discussed before probably the best use of non-recurring money is for non-recurring expenses. Yes, new topic?
Yeah, I'm just going to jump. Anybody else have any stimulus questions?
I just wanted to follow up.
Go right ahead.
Well, what if, what people who support taking the money say that what that would allow them to do is to have 2 or 3 years to make cuts more gradually in that spending, as opposed to having to make them in 1 year, one fell swoop?
I don't think any of us have seen the details yet about the strings that are attached. I'm waiting to see the analysis of the bills, and each section of the bill has a different set of strings.
Laura, the only thing I would say about that is that if what they're saying is that this year's Medicaid spending is going to be a little more than next year's, and next year's will be a little less, and the next year's will be a little less, I think we could accept that argument, but I think that may be what they're saying. I don't think that's what they're doing. Kelly.
Yeah, state health plan. How involved is the Republicans in whatever they come up with, or what they've come up with so far? The possible 730 ordeal, the 10-11 fat tax kind of thing?
Representative Dale Falwell has been bird dogging that for House Republicans, and is a serious problem. You'll recall that in July of last year, we had a bill on the floor by the House Democrats to do just what they're saying now, take the problem out of the rainy day fund. And we offered an alternative amendment that was voted down on party lines to ask the governor to begin making cuts across state government in July. Now, we would still, even if that motion had been agreed to and passed and became law, we would still have a problem, but it would be about 200 million or 100 million more or less of a problem than it is today. And everybody in this building knew that we had a problem last July, but there was a desire by the Democrats to just put it past the election and deal with it later.
Well, it is later. Are you involved in any discussions with, I mean, Dale Falwell is bird dog, and have you treated anything? I mean, are you involved in this?
Yes, I discuss it with him every day, and he'll be briefing our caucus on it shortly.
There are Republicans that are on the committee. In terms of involvement in the solutions, I don't know that, I'm not aware of any Republicans that have been in the closed door meetings where these decisions are made. The perception I've got is that these meetings are pretty much, Mr. Walker says this is what we need to do, and nodding heads.
Folks who are upset about some of the reforms have asked why it is that the Blue Cross contract is not open to the state to look at. Is that something you support? Should we be able to see that contract?
I think the contract should be open. I certainly understand the concern about that. You know, the subject of this press conference was transparency, so I think that's one of the things that would be, it would help us get to a solution if we had some openness as far as that contract is concerned, because at this point that becomes a distraction, and whether or not it is the problem or not, I suspect it's not as big a problem as people say, but the fact that you don't know what's there makes it an easy target. The real problem we've got is I think most people know, is that the amount of money that we're putting into the plan doesn't cover the benefits that we're providing, and we've got a mix of people within the plan who tend to be folks that demand or need more in the way of medical services. I think there are questions about Blue Cross. There are also questions about Medco, and all of those things need to be looked at in terms of crafting a solution. I will tell you, I spent Friday practicing law, and one of the things I do practicing law is I go to the courthouse every now and then, and the state workers, at least in the courthouse in Rockingham County, are not real happy with the way this is being presented at this point. So I think the other thing that needs to be done is there needs to be a better job of explaining what the problem is and what the alternatives are. I think, unfortunately, in fairness to the Democrats, they've gotten themselves into a position where there aren't any real good alternatives for them.